Wild Card, which is directed by Simon West. This is so William Goldman novel Heat, which was adapted by William Goldman for the screen as the Burt Reynolds movie in 1986. This is basically a remake of that movie, again based on the William Goldman script adaptation of the same book. And one of the things that I like about Jason Statham is he's an action star, and he's very good as an action star. He's a top-notch action star, but he has also tried to sort of broaden his dramatic palette recently. And you look at films like Hummingbird, which did very well with me, but very badly with everybody else. I mean, not a huge hit with the critics, not a huge hit with the box office, which is a real shame, because I think he was sort of trying to, to broaden his scope. But he understands that you have to do a certain amount of action, and you just push the acting a little bit further. Anyway, so the story is he is a Las Vegas chaperone, in inverted commas, meaning effectively he's a bodyguard. At the beginning of it, he meets a female friend who has had a horrible ordeal, which he reluctantly agrees that he will go and sort out and help her get some vengeance, and a sort of scene of terrifically ripe vengeance ensues. The film then wanders off in the most strange episodic things, in which he's got a dream that if he makes a certain amount of money, he can go off and buy himself a future away from all this. What he really wants to do is get away from Las Vegas, but he can't get away from Las Vegas. And the reason he can't is that he's kind of addicted to gambling, in the same way that the character played by Mark Wahlberg in the recent remake of The Gambler is. But I have to say, Wahlberg was rather less convincing. So there's that, and then all the way through there are these strange little episodic bits in which he meets friends and people that he knows who are played by, top-notch actors, people like Hope Davis, people like Anne Heche, and people like, in a later moment in the movie, Stanley Tucci. And it's almost like what they decided to do is go, okay, look, the Stath is not the world's greatest actor, but if we surround him with other people who can really act, then no one will notice. Here's a clip.
Nicholas.
Baby.
I heard you were up over 500 last night at the gate.
Talk of the town. Do you remember, when was it, a couple months ago, when you had us beaten for 200 grand? Right here at the Nugget? Till your luck changed.
I'll get there someday.
Nicholas. I'm just in a terrible bind, and it's all because of you. It seems that somebody broke into room 3506 last night, beat up on 3 guys, and took $50,000.
And that was before I had my Wheaties.
If only that were funny. No, it seems that this, same somebody shot and killed 2 gentlemen named Kinlaw and Teal. Shot them while they were tied and helpless. And an eyewitness claims that someone was you.
And you believe that?
If I did, you'd be dead. Come along, Nicholas.
Come along where?
To see DeMarco. I have to find the truth.
Wait a minute. You mean I'm on trial?
For your life, I should imagine.
Isn't that a great line? If only that were funny. So, during the course of the movie, all these other people come in and do that kind of acting, do this kind of, good, characterful, funny stuff. And the Stath does the thing that the Stath does. There are, at regular intervals, scenes of bone-crunching fights in which it falls upon him to take out a whole room full of people with his bare hands, which, of course, he does brilliantly. And then it goes back to doing the other stuff about the gambling and the existential stuff and the sort of, recovering drunk and desperate to get out of Las Vegas, but he can't, because Las Vegas is this kind of hellhole cesspit from which you cannot escape unless you finally free yourself. And all those things are going on in the script. Now, it is not without problems. There's no question that there's anything like a perfect film. But I have a real fondness for Jason Statham, and there are 2 reasons for that. One of them is that I think he is one of the few sort of genuinely iconic B-movie presences that we have at the moment. I mean, the camera loves him. He knows how to strike a pose on screen, and people think that's nothing, and people think that I'm down on action movies. I'm not, honestly. If you see it done properly, that's how you do it. The other thing is he fights like a dancer, and in the English-speaking world, action heroes who fight like dancers are few and far between. In the case of this, it's an ambitious and broad attempt to sort of widen the canvas of what he's doing, and he always understands. He understands what the core audience need. He understands what the core audience, and the films don't always work. I mean, I said Hummingbird didn't find an audience, and in the case of this, it's done very, very poorly in America. but I liked it. I liked it with all its ragged edges and all its mess. It was originally slated to be directed by Brian De Palma, and heaven only knows what Brian De Palma would have made of it. In the end, of course, Simon West has done a much more sort of nuts and bolts job. It's unflashy in terms of the visual direction, but the fight scenes are choreographed well, and I like a good action fight sequence. I am fairly bored with seeing people running around shooting at each other, because you just know how that, we all know how the conceit of those movies work. There is something much more interesting about seeing hand-to-hand fight sequences because of the way they're choreographed, because when they're done properly, as we saw from The Raid, and indeed The Raid 2, that sort of stuff is to do with physicality and do with the physicality of performance. I don't think the thing's going to find itself an audience in the cinema very much. I think it's going to find its audience at home on video. But I enjoyed it. I like the Staith. I like the fact that he keeps trying to just push the boundaries a little bit. And although not everyone buys into it, he's a genuine action icon. And if you was a choice between watching this and The Gunman, it's no question.